What is up, everyone? I'm Scratch. Welcome to another Etheria restart video. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. In today's video, guys, we're going to do a Nahor showcase. We're going to talk about pros and cons. We're going to talk about builds. And we're going to talk about what skills you should prioritize first. If, of course, you want to invest the lattice into him. Overall, he's a very, very solid unit. As I've mentioned, pros and cons. There are quite a few of them. Personally, I haven't really realized how many minions are actually immune to crowd control debuffs, and I'm talking about dungeons. Like, for example, I never realized that the Aurora minions are immune to pretty much all of the crowd control debuffs, and that's mainly because I never really tried to use a crowd control character in there. Now, talking about Aurora, he's not that great in Aurora because he is prioritizing his third skill over the second, right? In Aurora, you need to have that Dispel. If we're ever going to have a preset where we can actually select what skills to prioritize, hopefully the devs will do it eventually, then he will become much better for it because we're going to have a strip on a 3-turn cooldown. Truth be told, the best buff stripper for Aurora is still Viper, right? Like, Holden is good, but Viper is so much better because of the cooldown and everything else. Now, I'm personally a massive Kraken fan. I am using him in tons of different areas. The Anysync, the Ember Track, the Ethernet Rally. In tons of different areas where I need to basically keep those enemies controlled because they have very high HP. So he's actually a Kraken on steroids. Now, I did mention he can be like a Claws 2.0. Not to replace Claws if you already have her, okay? Because she's irreplaceable. Her and Lily, they're literally the most OP characters in the game. But if you don't have Claws, it will allow you to still bring in that defense down, that crowd control, and then you can still run a Marvel or a different character to drop the enemy speed or something like that, right? So you do have more options on the table now. I think this skill is really powerful. The A1 having the ability to drop the defense down too is massive. And this being the very first character in the game that can dispel all buffs from a target and then applying block buffs. That will make him even more interesting for other content where you need a buff stripper with a defense down, right? Including some of the content like the Phantom Theater maybe. You need to strip buffs in there all the time. Some of these bosses literally get like 5, 6, 7 buffs, you know? So that will make this character really good in there too. Now, when we are talking about the actual Grim Pursuit and Thresholds, guys, I feel like it is a bit harder to run him on the Inferno stages like Nikonana, Sharon, Shadow Flame, Rango Kutsu, right? On Sharon, the only reason why would you run a crowd control is to crowd control the battles, right? The minions. The boss is immune to debuffs. You could run him just to strip that increased speed from Sharon. On Nikonana, you have Obol, for example. He already brings you the crowd control, so I don't really think that you need him in there, right? So it's hard to make an argument where you're going to be like, well, I'm going to replace Obol with him, right? Just to give me the crowd control. Obol brings you the dot damage, which is much better. And for Shadow Flame Hoyan, for example, you basically need Celine to lock the passives if you want to get the job done without too much of a struggle. But on the other hand, if we are talking about the Ethernet Rally, right? So here is a completely different story because some of these bosses, let me just see if I can access the previous area. The bosses here are not immune to all of the debuffs and stuff. So versus this Sharon, for example, he would be absolutely OP. If we can actually use him. I'm not 1000% sure if we are able to, but most likely we won't be able to with one of the teams, maybe with the second team. That's something that we still need to check, and that's mainly because of the elemental affinities. If we are talking about the new content that was added, I actually use him in there as well, but I'm going to show you the video because I've already recorded that in the Infinity Train. He's absolutely amazing. I was going to get the triple S in here, but my Kachi, the god, was not prepared with the immunity at a boss, and I got silenced, I got debuffed, and was GG's basically. The boss absolutely wrecked me. You can't control that because it's all about autoing and stuff like that. but he's very, very good in here. The defense down and the freeze is absolutely massive. The buff dispel is not that big of a deal in here, though. Now, we're going to do some PvP. For Doki Doki, he's going to be amazing again. Now, the team that I'm running in the Doki Doki, it is a bit different. I will definitely replace, for example, Dyna with him. And that's mainly because they did nerf this dungeon at some point. So now I'm actually able to just go in with him, apply that defense down. My real Mocha will still have enough damage to basically get the job done. And in case if anyone gets resisted with a defense down or something might happen, the freeze will actually increase my winning rate. Because if I keep the enemies frozen, controlled, so we can recover some of the skills, we're going to be able to basically win that fight again. I just realized I do not have gear on real Mocha, so I'm quickly going to give her the gear, and we're going to come back to it in a second. So let's get this sorted. Where are we? Count build. Get our own real Mocha. So now you're ready to rumble. And let's go back onto the Inferno. I just realized that I had the wrong shell on him, guys. I actually had the Artisan, but I need to have the Codex because I need all of the other 4 units to have their skill available on the next wave as well. So with the freeze in this team, for example, is going to be really, really helpful in case if we're not one-shotting all of them, or if something goes wrong, maybe somebody gets resisted, or who knows what can happen, right? Before with Dyna, that works pretty good as well because we are getting the additional damage boost from her and stuff. But I feel like this can get the job just as fine as Dyna, right? As long as Real Mocha gets all of the crits in, and I think we missed one of the crit in there, and that's why we haven't killed the mobs. We have that freeze to control them, and that allows us to rotate a little bit longer and maybe increase that win rate as I was mentioning before. So we got them down. We're left with one enemy right here. Now, if this was happening before with Dyna, was pretty much GG's, right? I was losing the fight just for the simple fact that I was not able to recoup. We have that freeze coming in again. Beautiful. Real Mocha should have another skill available and just clear everything. Seems like she is hitting a bit like a fart. It seems like we got resisted on the defense down, but that's fine. We are slowly picking that enemy down. So it doesn't matter if the fight might take a bit longer when we get resisted, rather than just instantly wipe and retry it. If we can actually increase the win rate, I think is a win in my opinion, right? So there are tons of different teams for Doki Doki. I'm running a team like that. I don't really have any other characters built specifically for this. You could use Rosa instead, but you need to change your team around. You need to bring in support characters, healers, and stay in a longer fight, basically, right? If we are quickly going to do, for example, let's... Amber Track, I'm still low. I'm on a boss. He's not very good versus this boss, just for the simple fact that the second wave is immune to crowd control debuffs. That's another thing that I actually haven't noticed till I tried to use him in there. So he's good on the first phase of the boss because you can freeze the minions. Of course, not the main boss. But when you move to the second wave, those minions are basically immune to crowd control debuffs. So we're going to go on to the Anything heroes. So we have Deering, stage 31. They are pretty fast. Now, what I like in here is that I have that ability to basically bring in the defense down. I have the decreased speed already from Rosa. I can bring in Marvel for more decreased speed, Thermital Manipulation, and decreased resistance, which is really, really good, right? I tend to use Kraken in all of these areas. So what I'm doing, I'm quickly going to show you. Yes, I do have Lily to basically boost the crowd control unit over and over again. I'm actually going to manual that to be able to show you. My god, my Marvel absolutely got demolished right there. Okay, so we do that. Now with Lily, I always tend to basically boost the crowd control unit, not the damage dealer, because I'm going to be able to use the crowd control skill more often, keeping these enemies controlled. It seems like we got resisted or something in here because we only landed one freeze, which kind of sucks. but we still have the defense down to do a lot of damage, right? Which is definitely pretty helpful. So we might have to retry it because of that resist part. If we have to, we're going to do it. Not a big deal anyway. The RNG is RNG, and hell, we have a lot of RNG in this game. So we lost him, yes, we are going to restart it. That D-Ring does hit pretty damn hard. This is the second difficulty on it. So let's see, is he going to kill my Lily? No. My Lily's tankier. Okay, so there we go. Beautiful, decrease speed, thermometer manipulation, push the crowd control unit. In my case, was always Kraken. I always used to run Kraken in here. The freeze is much better than the slumber. Beautiful. Not sure what happened before, but either way, this time around, it worked much better. So having the defense down now actually boosts my damage a lot. I'm able to clear the stages faster and make them safer. The longer we stay in a fight like this, the more painful it becomes, because if we're not able to keep the enemies controlled all the time anymore, basically what happens is they're going to slowly kill your team. And yeah, this is not the highest stage or anything like that, but this is basically the strategy that I'm using to progress in this game mode. And I haven't really done any runs at all to try and push it. Like, I'm slacking a little bit on this content because, truth be told, you have a lot of things to grind in the game, right? And changing builds and stuff around all the time can be pretty annoying. Bang, we got a freeze again. We got resisted on one right there, which is fine. Because I do have the Codex, we should have that available again. Okay. Actually, no, I think we used it already. So, that's fine. They have no buffs. We can let it go on, or actually, he's going to apply the defense down with the basic skill too, which is really helpful. Rosa can actually push in a lot of damage as it is. Okay. Damn. D-Ring is literally not messing around. He's doing a lot of damage here, huh? He's literally doing so much freaking damage. I was going to say probably if I let it play on Aura, he's going to boost my Rosa. Okay. That's fine. Rosa needs to do the cleanup now. Wipe them all off. But either way, the freeze plus the defense down together is really, really powerful for this type of content. As I was mentioning, some of the cons, a lot of the bosses are immune to crowd control debuffs. And I'm talking about the minions, not the actual boss itself. Which, yeah, is a con because he's not really going to provide you so much value in there, except having the defense down. And maybe you need to dispel the buffs from the boss, which is not a bad thing whatsoever. That's actually really, really good. But for defense down, you have quite a few different units that are SRs as well. You don't necessarily need to go for an SSR and use the lattice into his third skill to get down the cooldown. You guys get the drill. But for this type of content, he's going to be absolutely freaking massive. And PvP too. Because sometimes you are going versus enemies that you're just not able to kill in one shot. Having the defense down next to the freeze and keeping them controlled is actually going to be much, much better. Now, before we move on to PvP, I quickly want to show you basically how well he works in the train right here. Now, this was a pretty damn long video, so I'm not going to keep you in here all the way to the end, guys, but I will move towards the end at this part somewhere. Maybe a bit, I moved a bit too much. Let's go down from SSS. This is Oro. Of course, Lily is going to boost the damage dealer, which is Messiah. But I do not have my Messiah skilled, right? So that does make quite a bit of a difference because his damage is not as good. If I would have my Siada ready to rumble, oh my god, she would absolutely obliterate these freaking waves. Like, she's just so perfect for this content. Kachi the God in here works amazing. But him bringing that defense down and freeze, constantly controlling these enemies is massive. So SSS, it is my personal best on the trade. I will definitely retry it later today to get to triple S because I was going to do a triple S on this run. Kachi decided not to have the third skill available at the last phase where is the boss, and because of it, the boss absolutely demolished my entire team. Block buffs, silence, and GG's. That was it. My team got wrecked. Let me just actually show you. So you see, we got it. We got to the boss right here. He froze all of the minions, which was amazing. But then, bang, the boss applied the block buffs. We had no immunity from Kachi. Kachi literally tried to put the immunity a little bit too late. If we would have had that immunity, we were gonna clear this part as well, but unfortunately it did not happen. Now, leaving all that on the side, let's actually go and do a bit of PvP. So I'm quickly going to swap some of the gear around from my Marvel and make him a bit faster. So let's see. We're gonna get that on. Now, instead of this, I actually got a much better piece today that we can use, and that is this one right here. So now we have him a bit faster too. Then, let's see, what is my Lily? Actually, I don't really need to make her faster. She's good as it is. I've just realized, okay, I don't have the codex on. I was gonna say, like, what the heck? Why do I have the codex on my Lily? And we're gonna keep him in the team, and yeah, I mean, you guys get the drill. For PvP is going to be amazing. I don't have to tell you. There is a con with that as well. And that is all of the immunity that you are going to encounter, especially in Summit Arena, Live Arena. In this arena, is a completely different story. You might not be encountering tons and tons of different units with immunity, right? If you encounter one, you have the ability to strip it. The main thing is you still need to take into consideration what other characters you have in your team. Do you have the ability to strip with him and then control with somebody else, or you do not, right? Because that will be pretty important as well. So let's bring in Marvel too. Okay, so we are slightly faster. No immunity on this one. We can drop that. Sometimes they survive, you know? So we can use Lily. She can get the boost done. I do not think we're going to need to use the skill a second time. But hey, we only landed one freeze. It seems like today he just doesn't want to proc that chance. I guess the 10% is winning, right? But I think we had the defense down. So even though we had Valerian in the team, the passive did not really do much to keep them alive. Because the first hit was so impactful that we dropped their HP, right? And because of it, was a GG's. Let's actually try to go versus this team. So we have a Kraken. Do they have any immunity? So let's drop their thermometer. Okay, can you not let us down now, Nahor, please? Can you freeze everybody and put the defense down? Be a good boy. Okay, beautiful. Seems like he listens. And then, bang. That defense down is gonna be pretty damn solid. Now, Kraken, incoming now. He did manage to freeze all of my team too, more or less. But that's fine. Not a big deal because we already killed the rest. So, this is just standard stuff. There's nothing special about PvP. We knew exactly what's going to happen. But as I was mentioning, there are pros and cons. The cons are that it is a bit harder to get the most out of him in the thresholds. And of course, in the Grim Pursuit. Now, if we're talking about the trial challenges, he's an absolute freaking goat. Okay? Up to you, guys, if you think he will be worth it for your account or not. I think he is a very solid unit, and who knows what other content they might introduce where he's actually going to be really powerful. But either way, let's quickly talk a bit about the build and talk about skills and priorities. So I have him built on a speed and a time we've set. I have the codex on him mainly for Doki, but an artisan shell can work on him pretty well too. One thing that I haven't done yet is try to see what sort of damage he can do. Who knows? Maybe you chuck him on a revelation shell and then he's going to do a disgusting damage like Freya. That is a possibility as well. I might give it a try at some point. The main thing is you want to have this skill available as often as possible. That's why I think that Time Weave is going to work amazing. You need to have him fast as well. So that's why you need that Swift on. The Artisan works pretty well because you can actually give him some additional stats. Now, he doesn't have a very high defense overall, but it's still working pretty decent. Shell-wise, you can run tons of different options. Either you run the Artisan, either, of course, you can run the Halloween, the Jackal Guard. you can run as well the Alicorn, so you have the clans in case if they are faster in PvP and they control you, you get a cleanse down and then bang, you control them back. That is a very, very good option as well. If we're talking about skills and priorities, not sure if I already started talking about it or not. I do prioritize the S3 more than the second one. At some point, I would love to put Lattice into this skill as well. I feel like he kind of needs them in both skills because this is on a 4-turn cooldown as well. It will make quite a bit of a difference. But he does need that Lattice, especially in the 3rd skill. It will increase the chance to land the debuff, but it will reduce the cooldown to a 4-turn cooldown. That's pretty much everything for Nahor, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I still think he's a great, great unit. Definitely no regrets whatsoever. But as usual, every unit has pros and cons, right? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.